This is the EVP Podcast.
Ladies and ghouls, welcome to another episode of the EVP Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Beaker.
I am Ghosty McGhostface.
And I'm DVO.
And together we form the paranormal team Energy, Visions, and the Paranormal.
Spooky.
So I got so scared.
I don't know. Did you hear something?
No.
Okay.
He's got demons.
Somebody's possessed over there.
He's got inhuman entity spirits.
Probe it out of me. Beaker, you just got probed the other day for COVID.
Yeah, tell us more about it.
There's no probing. It was spitting in a cup.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
you're spitting on it?
Yeah, after
Yeah,
the
you
probing.
got spit on it.
After the probing, you're spitting on it?
No, I wouldn't be sitting here right next to you guys if my test came back positive. I did have to take a test for COVID yesterday. Coronavirus. I knew I didn't have it, but my doctor wanted to be on the safe side. So.
And you're like, sure, I'll take time off work to go get it.
Why not?
He's
Well, I
any
mean-
excuse to put his finger up your leg.
Yeah. Well, that's why I wanted to get a prostate exam.
Nice.
Duh, colonoscopy.
You're like, this is how
Stick
COVID
that
tests are done, right?
Stick that
right here, doc.
rooter up my butt. That went so south real quick. No, I woke up with a fever and was not feeling well yesterday, so I was trying to get a doctor's note to take the day off, and they're like, "Go get a COVID test." I'm like, "Okay," but that's not the fun stuff.
He was like, sir, please pull your pants up. This is not how we do COVID tests.
He's like,
My other doctor.
I understand that this is a video chat, but you don't need to be naked for this.
That other doctor was on OnlyFans.
Oh, I love the start of this one. This is great.
Yeah, it sure is.
What are we
You
talking
guys-
about, gentlemen?
We're talking about do we want to save our adventures for a different episode? Because you guys were out of town at a conference, and while you were out of town, I was doing. It wasn't actually a haunted house, but it was haunted theme escape room.
Yeah, I think we should save it. You guys need to, if you follow us on our social media, you know that all of us had some nice adventures over the weekend. And we'll get to that on a future episode, so keep tuning in.
But this week, we're going to continue our theme with the Conjuring movies. Last week, they were able to find their old interview with Andrea Perron, the oldest daughter from the Conjuring family, I guess, if that's what you want to call it. And
Conjuring family.
The Conjuring family, yes.
I just got that. Like, it all made sense. I
did. I was like,
and
wait,
then it took a second. Wait a minute.
That's not what they're called.
That's not their name.
The Perron family.
Perron family.
Yeah. So this week we're going to continue on that trend. We're going to be talking about the Conjuring 2. We're going to be talking about the Enfield case in England and the Hodge family. Hodgson.
Yep.
Hodgson family. Yes. They had ghosts, and it was real. The end.
Spooky ghost. Did you hear something again? That was weird.
Somebody's
All
in
these
here.
EVPs on the EVP podcast.
Oh, interesting.
In case you missed that, you're listening to the EVP podcast. I'm Beaker. So yeah,
England.
There was a movie
Over the pond.
starring my boyfriend.
Oh, Dreamboat Patrick
Pat-
Wilson.
Patrick, I always got to ask you his last name. I can never remember it.
So I had a.
You just got it tattooed on your butt. Probably 'cause it's on your butt. That's why you don't see it.
Speaking
I
of
don't
You got it
dreams,
tattooed.
Well,
speaking
I'm
of
fat.
dreams, I had a. Well, speaking of dreams,
Wait,
I'm
what
gonna.
dreams? Who brought up dreams? There's,
They're talking about Dreamboat Patrick Wilson.
Dreamboat,
And
yes, the Dreamboat.
I can see the correlation now. It makes sense.
Speaking of dreams, I had a dream last night
Me too.
about Patrick Wilson.
Of course you did.
Step off my Kool-Aid, bitch.
Hold on. This had
Dude,
to
Beaker,
do with
he's
you.
moving in on your man.
Beaker,
You need
this
to
had to do with you
take-
too. You
Oh,
were involved.
threesome. Woo, woo. I want to see it.
You tell the story. I'm gonna drink my coffee.
Yeah,
Beaker
you're gonna
goes
like
the
You're gonna
Patrick
like
Wilson.
In said dream of
You're
mine.
jealous. You know it.
I am. I left out.
Yeah, this.
Oh, I was behind the
sorry.
camera. Sorry, that's why. You didn't see me. I
You
was
were
behind the camera.
You were pulling the strings behind this dream.
Okay.
So, anyways, I'm watching TV.
Did you forget about this till just now?
Yep.
Okay.
This
This is
popped
awesome.
in my head
This
just
is great.
now. I was
This is
like,
great.
whoa, I know something new. Anyways, in this dream, Patrick Wilson is like playing the guitar and singing a song.
Yeah.
Oh,
Serenading Beaker.
It was
They do
because
that
it was in
he
the.
does it in the movie.
Yes, in the movie he's doing that.
He sings
Yes,
the Elvis
that's
song.
right.
Oh, yes, that's right. And in my dream, I was like, I was editing this out, and I was sending it to you, going, "Oh, I can't wait to show Beaker. This is gonna be good stuff."
Teasing about his
I was
love
like, "Oh, I bet
crush.
his panties are gonna get so wet."
It's true.
Okay.
You know, you're not the only one dreaming about me. My friend in Canada told me she had a dream about me.
Serenading you?
No, she bought a haunted house, and she actually, she said I brought my team up, so I'm assuming you guys. We went to Canada to investigate a haunted house, and apparently we got locked in, and she woke up, and we're still stuck in the haunted house in her dream.
Well, let's go to Canada and get out of there.
Okay,
Let's go get ourselves out.
let's do it.
And so was that the dream?
That was it. That
You're
dream
just like
was
giggling. Like, I'm going to send this to Beaker.
Yeah,
He's going to love
I couldn't
this.
wait. I couldn't wait to send it to him. I was like I was watching. I think
The
it's like
movie?
the movie, but it was happening in real life. And then I was probably because I passed out during the movie. And then I'm editing that part of it, and I'm sending it to him. I'm like, oh, and then I'm like,
Just
can't
giggling
wait.
to
Yeah,
yourself?
just can't wait for
Oh,
him to
Beaker's gonna
respond.
love
And then I
this.
probably woke up, but I just remembered the dream.
That is funny.
I think Gusty's got the hots for me.
Or maybe I have
That's
the
what I
hots
took-
for you having the hots for Patrick.
That's probably what it is.
I just love that Patrick Wilson's such a huge fan of the EVP podcast. That's what I love.
Thanks for listening.
Patrick Wilson, once again, thank you. Let us know when you're in town.
Biggest fan.
Dinner's on us.
I can't wait till we get the
You got
emails
dinner
that
last
stop
time. We
talking
got dinner
about
this
it.
time. We'll never stop talking about Patrick Wilson.
That Vera.
Farmiga.
The fox.
Yeah, she's pretty hot.
a fox. Did you hear something?
Strange.
Are you gonna do that the whole episode?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. Well, this is gonna be fun.
All right, so let's talk about this place. So it started when? August 30th,
77?
77.
77.
77.
77.
So
I can tell you how the movie starts.
Oh, actually, let's do that. Let's talk
Okay.
about where the movie starts.
All right, go on.
Well,
What year was that?
Well, it should be the same year.
Or the year before? 76? Amityville Horror?
Oh yeah, no, yeah, it does start with showing the Amityville.
Oh,
horror
okay, that's what I
case.
thought you meant. Sorry.
No, I totally spaced the epilogue or whatever.
Yeah, I don't want to maybe get too into it because maybe we should talk about another episode.
We'll have an episode on the Amityville. There's so much to talk about that, but it starts off with the Amityville.
And we'll go deep in that one because everyone's done an episode of Amityville Horror. So we'll try to go do a deep dive on that one.
So yeah, as far as this particular case goes, it starts like the daughter, one of the daughters, because there's two of them.
Janet.
Janet,
Oh.
she was the main focus of this particular haunting. She was at school, and they made like some makeshift spirit board that they were playing with, and she gets caught smoking, and she wasn't really smoking.
Naughty.
Yeah. Anyway, she brings a spirit board home. They play with it.
Spirit what?
Spirit board.
Okay.
But essentially, that's what it is. It's like a makeshift
Ouija board.
Well, Ouija board's just a brand. It's just a company. It's just a form of spirit board. And we can do that in another episode if you want to. I've talked about it. Did a lot of research on that for my previous podcast.
Interesting.
Doesn't Ouija just mean yes, no?
No, no. So what they think is when they were asking the board what to name it, they thought it spelled out. It was like a D instead of a J. And I guess the lady that was helping create this Ouija board was wearing a locket of this her favorite author or something. I'd have to go back and look it up. But that was the last name of the lady that she admired.
Ouija.
But they think they misread it as a J instead of a D, and that's how they came up with it. The board basically named itself. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it could mean yes, no. I don't know. I'd have to go back and research it. But yeah, so they play with the spirit board when she gets home. Her and her older sister.
Does Mark have a crush on me? Like
Yeah.
that?
Pretty
Yes
much.
and no.
Peaches is gonna love your shitty accent.
I thought it was spot on.
No, that's
Yes,
I
it
guarantee
was.
you. I guarantee you, we're gonna get a text when she hears this.
Spirit board.
Yeah, then stuff starts happening.
Right away.
Yeah, right away.
wobbling beds.
Wobbly. So
We will wobble.
all of them? All four of their beds? The kids? Because they have 4 kids. So Peggy, the mom, single mother, 4 kids. 2 oldest were the girls, 2 youngest were the boys. Billy was the youngest.
Billy.
It doesn't seem like they mentioned the third child, the oldest boy, very much.
No, they
Johnny?
don't. Johnny.
Johnny.
So you had Janet,
Probably because
And
he
Margaret.
passed away.
Johnny, and Billy.
Say what?
You didn't know this?
Maybe not.
So yeah, he ended up getting cancer.
At what age?
14, he passed away.
Oh.
So,
But he was 10. Wasn't he like around 10 when all these events were happening?
most likely,
Yeah.
but then soon after that,
Oh, that's sad.
yeah. So they probably didn't have a lot to talk about him. It probably didn't hurt the family, I'm sure, to bring it up. Maybe, I don't know.
So so Ghost, you like the jump scares.
Yes.
How was the nun for you in this one?
I kind of was expecting it.
Okay.
Just, I don't know. There's a lot of lead up every time they're going to do a jump scare. So in the theater, it is better. Watching the first time, I think watching the jump scare
Yeah.
movies in the theater is definitely better because
For the first time.
yes, for the
Yeah.
first time, you know, even though you know it's coming, you don't know what's going to happen yet. And just the ambiance of the theater, it's just better.
Just expect when anyone turns around, there's going to be a jump
Yeah.
scare.
You know it. You know it. But this one, I was expecting everything.
And the nun was a spin-off from this movie. That was all just Hollywood, right? The whole nun thing.
I believe so, yeah.
Definitely the spin-off.
There was a story that it kind of took its roots from that one church there in England
Okay.
that has that, where that nun, and we talked about it not too long ago on that other episode.
Okay.
But yeah, there's some origins from that, but I don't think it had anything to do with this case by any means.
No, it didn't.
So now,
Completely
Janet.
separate.
So Janet was like the main focus
Yes.
for
Yep.
this. I mean, what are we gonna call this? Poltergeist? Poltergeist activity? Possession? What are we calling it?
I think it was more
Or a little bit of
poltergeist.
both?
Could be a
I
little
think
bit of both.
Yeah.
I would say more poltergeist than, or maybe possibly something inhuman.
Okay. No, I wasn't able to finish the movie. So what were some of the things maybe you guys liked about the movie, or anything about the movie?
All the creative freedoms they took.
Okay. You mean the whole movie?
The whole movie.
Yeah.
I don't know. I remember when I first watched this, I was in the theater, but I went and saw it by myself. And just straight towards the end when she's having the premonitions of Ed dying, I'm like, for me, it's not suspenseful.
Okay.
Because I know, like, the movie takes place in 1977, right? Ed died in 2005 or 6.
Yeah.
2006. So I'm just like, well, he's not going to die.
Yeah.
So why is this necessary?
For people that don't know.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. But I'm like overly critical of these movies.
It's like, don't kill Patrick.
Don't kill him.
Stop it.
Stop it. He's so dreamy.
How about you, Ghost? You watched it recently. What were some things you liked about it?
I like the dramatization of the possessions that she was getting and the way that they were doing it and kind of showing like that. Who was that stick man guy called?
Crooked Man?
The Crooked Man.
Yeah.
And then her coming out with that voice.
Uh-huh.
That was kind of creative. It's like it wasn't actually some big, stick man coming out. It was just her making that voice.
I don't think they even saw any apparitions, did they?
I don't think so.
I don't think they saw
No,
anything.
it was just
The
things
voices
moving.
and the levitation, supposed levitation.
So the levitations,
supposed levitation.
Let's do that.
the
Okay.
pictures of the levitations.
Uh-huh.
It looks like she's jumping.
It looks like a jump going.
Where
from,
did those pictures come from? Was it that
I think it was Maurice
Maurice
Gross.
he
was
put a
like the
camera in the little girl's room? Different time.
That's
different
not
time.
weird at all. In the 70s. No, I honestly, to kind of jump back to your last question, the showing that there was like two spirits at work here, where one of them was kind of oppressing the other.
Okay.
They find this out towards the end that the spirit that's doing most of the work is actually being like influenced by a more negative entity. And I like the realism in that because I've actually, and I'm sure you guys have too, I've actually dealt with cases like that where there are, I've seen it at Benson Grist Mill, for example. Like there's the negative entity in the barn that straight up told one of the spirits in the blacksmith, like basically, you need to do what I say or I'm going to hurt you, your family, both that have moved on and family that's still living. Like, I'm going to come after everybody that you know and love.
So let's just make sure we clarify. So based on this movie or this event, Bill Wilkins is being kind of overpowered by the nun.
More or less, yeah.
Okay. Just wanted to clarify.
That's kind of what they allude to.
Yes,
and
right.
I like that they put that in there. Another thing that I did like is the fact that Lorraine in the movie couldn't sense that spirit. The nun, more or less, at the house. They were kind of, I don't know that she could really sense Bill either, if I remember correctly. But I know that she wasn't able to sense that other spirit. Like, it didn't want her to.
Yeah.
And I do appreciate the realism in that as well, because there's been times where we've been on an investigation with Brandy, and the same thing has happened to her. We were in a house, and she could not, for whatever reason, pick up on any of the spirits in the home. But
Okay.
I was drawn right to one. The former person we worked with, Mark, was drawn to a spirit. So we were able to pick up their spirits in the home, but for whatever reason, she couldn't.
Interesting.
So those two aspects, I think, for this movie is what stood out the most to me, because there is realism. That stuff does happen. Spirits, like, controlling other spirits and telling them what to do.
Yeah.
And the fact that she was, like, shut off by one of the spirits, like, it didn't want her to know that it was there. So those are the two things that I enjoy.
Okay.
There is realism to that.
That makes sense.
I like that that's in the movie.
Yeah, and so we can talk about Bill Wilkins. I mean, he was just a Wilkins. Was that right?
I believe so.
Yeah, well,
He was a neighbor.
He was the previous homeowner.
He was a previous homeowner. He lived in the home. He died in the home.
and so the whole
is
reason
my
why
house.
he was brought up was because they had an interview where she changed the daughter Janet seemed to have been possessed by his spirit and talked like him and mentioned some things about him.
Yeah, said his name a few times, I guess, too.
Said his name, that he died in that chair in the corner downstairs, and
Was it the same chair?
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
and
gosh.
that he and some.
But
And
you
then,
got to realize this is like a low-income family. single
Yeah, so they
mom.
just took whatever they
so
could.
any furniture that was still left in the house, they just kept.
Ooh.
and so
Well, they didn't know at the time.
Yeah,
Yeah, they don't know someone
Someone
died.
died in the chair.
true.
And if you think about it back then, I mean, people die all the time.
Like every day.
Yeah, every day. Some people are dying every day.
Especially in the 70s.
the 70s, baby.
Free love. Oh, wait, no, this is England. Never mind. Oh, no, that was
They
there.
invented it.
They
For you.
invented it. You're right.
Like, let's shag, baby.
Yeah, they were doing that for a decade strong by then.
It's the 70s. Let's shag. Free love.
Yeah,
Free
baby.
shags.
All right.
What were we talking about again?
People dying.
People
Yeah,
dying.
so people
Every
died
day.
all the time.
They just drop dead. Like spontaneous combustion. That's a thing.
And they were talking about, so they just left the chair.
yeah. So if you think about it, every piece of furniture that's been left behind, somebody's probably died in it.
Good point. At some point.
Yep. Just think about that.
So let's go back to the levitation.
Do you think it was real, or do you think it was bullshit and just camera with taking
So
shots with her jumping?
What I heard, Lorraine Warren, I guess, had seen them. Or she mentioned it in an interview. Lorraine Warren mentioned it, so I don't know if she. It made it sound like she saw it. That both girls levitated in the bedroom, and then there was a neighbor who did report that doing a walk, he saw Janet levitating in her bedroom window.
Yeah, like twirling.
I don't know exactly, but just
That's what I had read. That
Okay, that a
the
neighbor saw that?
her
Yeah.
levitating from the window, and that she was like twirling and like moving around in the room.
Peggy, the mom, her brother didn't live too far, and him and his wife came over, and they saw Margaret, the oldest daughter, on the floor, because I think they heard, I guess because the kids said they got pushed out of bed a lot, or they levitated and were dropped, and they didn't see Janet anywhere. He looked under both beds, couldn't find her. He looked around the corner, saw her on her bookshelf or something like that. She was on a bookshelf sleeping. 1 foot on the bookshelf and her head on the bookshelf, like in an awkward position. Yeah, like a little unbalanced, sleeping.
I mean, kids do weird stuff all the time.
Yeah, it's true.
I can find
mean,
you
I've
weird
seen
pictures of
kids-
my nephew sleeping. in
Yeah,
Okay.
like on stairs.
I mean,
yeah.
they did say like her position was like very awkward. to be sleeping in that position. Because she was asleep, head and foot on the dresser. I don't know what the rest of her body was doing, or her other foot, but
Pictures or it didn't happen.
yeah, true.
Well, there's pictures of the levitation. I still don't think that happened.
Yeah.
At least,
So the pictures are apparently her being shoved, and that's why it looks like she's jumping, because she's being. That's what she says, right, Janet? She was being shoved. She said she felt like a pressure on her chest, and then shoving her up against the wall.
And if you look at the siblings in the other bed, they're in different positions all the time. So it looks like these pictures were taken at different times too. So it wasn't like one continuous phase of levitation.
Very possibly.
It was like
different days or different times of the day.
they're wearing the same thing, so I'm thinking it's the same night, but different. I don't know. So look at the kids in the background.
So, I mean, to me, looking at this picture here, it literally looks like, because she's going from the head of her bed to the foot of their bed, like jumping off the bed. It looks like she's jumping.
Because with the knees up like that, it just looks like she's jumping. Because if she was levitating, you would think she'd be laying flat.
Do you guys remember how old she is in this? 12, 13, something like that?
Yeah. She wasn't too old.
Right.
I don't know. Just from the pictures that you can find online of the levitation, we can find.
There's actually a lot of witnesses that seen things moving in the house, that heard knocks, that's seen things moving. There was like 30 witnesses, and one of them being a police officer, which they
Two
talk
police
about.
officers.
Yeah, 2 police officers. One signed an affidavit saying that what they saw happened.
There's no doubt in my mind that there was
Poltergeist?
there was
some sort of
activity.
activity in this house.
I
This
think it got
family was dealing
exaggerated.
with spirits. Just the levitation, I don't believe. I believe at least the picture that's there. I mean, there could be levitations that actually are legit, but the pictures that they have, to me, she's jumping.
So for me, I find that's just like scientifically speaking, I find it hard to believe someone could levitate. I find that very hard to believe.
No, I've seen Chris Angel do it.
Yeah,
It's real.
He's
It's
walked
real.
on a swimming
He's
pool.
sold his soul to the devil.
He flies off houses.
Yes.
over houses.
So I find it scientifically hard to believe that people could levitate, but I also can't say it's totally impossible that someone could be lifted by an entity.
So, I mean, have you ever played the Light as a Feather, Stiff as a Board?
Yes.
It's the same concept.
I mean, it didn't work, but
It did I mean, I did this in elementary school in the playground when I was like 8 years old,
Right.
9 years old, and there was probably a good like 6 people lifting up one person. So but we always did 2 fingers.
right. Yes, exactly.
And I mean, it seemed to work for us, but again, there was probably like way too many kids doing it, so that's probably the way it worked.
yeah.
But it's the same concept. So essentially, like they're depending on the energy of the spirit that you're dealing with, it is possible that it could lift you up, even just a little bit. So the levitation is possible, in my opinion. But like I said, the pictures that you can find online looks like she's jumping.
Yes, the pictures do.
It was a tabloid newspaper as well, the one that was doing this, so it doesn't give them a lot of credibility in the first place. So I bet they had some activity go on, maybe just knocking, but they're like, this ain't going to sell papers. We need you levitating.
Ghost Adventures before Ghost Adventures is a thing.
Do you guys remember what the 2 police officers saw?
Moving
Saw-
furniture.
Yeah,
Like levitate, like the furniture levitated about maybe 3/4 inch off the ground.
Yeah, it's about half inch,
and then
yeah.
moved about 4 feet.
Yep, exactly.
So
That's pretty significant, like the
That's
moving
huge.
of like 4
That
feet.
is a
Like
huge-
levitating of half an inch is like, oh, how do you tell that? Now the police officers did say they investigate. Like as soon as they saw it, they investigated the chair. No strings, no ropes, no nothing around the chair. It literally moved. They said. And then one of the police officers, I don't know if you guys heard this, but he was just sure, like, is the floor unbalanced? And it just kind of slid because of gravity. So he put a marble on the floor, and the marble stayed put. So he just kind of was, basically he was debunking before there was debunking.
right, that's pretty good.
Yeah, so he put a marble down, nothing happened. I don't know if you heard, but there was neighbors that came over to help, like the
Yes.
next door, the Nottinghams.
Yes. Old Vic and Peggy.
And they saw a chair fly almost 9 feet far.
Oh, damn.
So he's like, when you're just there and you just see a chair fly about 9 feet into the wall, and there's nothing on the other end of this chair, And he said, you know, what did you do? He goes, nothing you can do. You just shake. There's nothing you can do. So, you know, that's it. And they've been interviewed, the Nottinghams. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
So that all happened in 77, and then the Warrens didn't show up until the summer of 78.
So yeah, so like fall, winter, this was all happening.
And it sounded like they showed up unannounced.
That's what I've read. Yeah, they weren't contacted by anybody.
They heard
They
about
probably
it.
just been seeing it on the news.
They saw it on the news, from what I understand.
Because a lot of people have been talking about it. A lot of people have been investigating it.
I'll save you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they had
Here I come to save
You
the
need
day.
Jesus Christ in your life.
they had
Smells like demon.
because they even had what's it called, magicians come over to kind of like check things out to see how they.
Oh, magicians were coming over.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, they had a lot of like reporters there too.
A lot of
like,
reporters were coming.
So the magicians were trying to debunk as well.
Yeah, I think kind of come up with ways, and
That's so cool.
a lot of them just kind of felt like there's no way these kids can come up with this type of stuff. A lot of them felt it was, you know, I think a lot of them felt it was a little on the genuine side. Obviously, you're always gonna have your skeptics. So a lot of them just were, you know, skeptical. Neighbors were helping, things like that.
So what do you think about her voice? Do you think her doing
What
that
voice?
Oh God, there it goes.
What? I didn't hear anything.
You need to open up, bro.
No.
So do you think the voice she was doing was staged? Do you think that was all made up by her, or do you think she was really being controlled by something?
Yes and no.
Elaborate.
I think a lot of it, and I've actually played some of the recordings, and there's videos you can. We should probably link a lot of this when we post this episode. There is YouTube videos of the interviews of her talking, and I've watched some of these with Peaches, and I believe, if I remember correctly, a lot of it was faked and forced, and it was for a show. I feel like some of this. I'm not discounting saying that nothing happened. I do believe there was spirits in the home, but I think this was a cry for attention.
Yes,
a lot of it.
Yep, that's where I was getting to as well. I think the poltergeist stuff was really happening, but a lot of the other stuff was just to get more attention. Like the levitation, I think that was just for show, and I think the making voices was also just for show.
What was this guy's name again?
Bill Wilkins.
Bill Wilkins.
No,
Maurice Gross.
yeah, Maurice, right?
Maurice, I believe so. Yeah. Now they did do in the movie, and this is one of the coolest scenes in the movie, is when they have her drink the water and hold it in her mouth,
Yeah.
and the spirit is still her talking.
Right.
And in the way they transitioned it, like the camera kind of pans a little bit and like focuses more on the forward on like Ed Warren, and you can see like her figure transforming into the man in the chair in the movie. I think the way they did this scene was like excellent. And apparently they actually did that test. They actually did have her hold water in her mouth.
And they still heard the voices come
And they
from
still
her.
heard the voices apparently.
Yeah. So you think part of it was her being faked, part of it was her being real?
Yes.
So
I mean, again, she could have easily like swallowed real quick and took another sip when no one was looking, because everyone had their backs turned to her. Like just like in the movie, that's how they did it. Everyone had their backs turned to her because the spirit straight up said, "I won't do it if anyone's watching."
okay.
So it is possible that she could have like swallowed it or spit it out when no one was looking and took another sip before they all turned around. Not saying that's what happened. I wasn't there. I don't know, but it is a possibility.
Yeah, looking at some interviews with Maurice and the two oldest girls, right away, like one of the interviews, that as they get started, they hear 3 knocks right away. They didn't really mention it, but he was just kind of interviewing the girls, and they talked about the knockings, like what we just heard. And they said, yeah. So you hear this knocking out of nowhere. I don't know who else was in the house or if anyone else was in the house, but it sounded like it came from inside the room that they were in. And like watching her, and you hear the voices. So I guess they had like kind of investigate, because they were like, you can't talk like this without having like a hoarse voice or like really messing up your vocal cords. And your voice comes out of your larynx. And when your voice kind of goes, there's another thing. I don't even know. I'm not a doctor. I just pretend to be one. But
I play one on TV.
Let's play doctor.
Whoa,
But I guess there's another
promise?
another thing above your larynx that helps you speak when you lost your voice. And it was coming out of that. But you can't continue to keep doing that over and over, or else it really like hurts your voice, like hurts your throat. you can't, you start sounding really hoarse. And Janet always sounded normal. And Maurice, I guess he has hours of recordings talking with his voice.
I
And
refute your science. I'm just kidding. I mean, I've never heard that before, so that's actually
yeah. And
very
so
interesting.
Where's all these hours at?
he's got them. I don't know where
What's he
they're
gonna
at.
do
but-
with
I think you can find
I
some
don't
of
know.
them on YouTube.
Yeah, you can find some of them. There's some
You
out
can
there.
find a lot of the
Like
recordings.
I was listening to some of the recordings, and she's just having these conversations in this voice, and like I try to mimic. Like so over this weekend, like we talked about, we were out of town. I was doing a lot of talking, and my voice, I can still tell my voice is still a little hoarse from a lot of the talking I did over this weekend. But she would do this, voice would come out of her, and so when he's interviewing her, he's like, "What does it sound like? Like does it come from like where's it come from?" And so Janet and Margaret, because I guess Margaret had voices come out of her too, but Janet was always having voices. It felt like it came from the back of their throat, the back of their neck. And he goes, so like you feel like I can't remember, it's like the vibration of your throat. And she says, no, it sounds like it's coming from behind me, like as if I was standing, like something was standing behind her, talking through her. Not really, like it was coming out of her, but she didn't feel like it was coming out of her. And so he goes, what does it feel like? It feels like someone's just holding the back of my neck. Like they're just like pressure
like
on
a
the back.
puppet.
Yeah, like a puppet. And so, but the noises were coming out, like whistles would come out of her. And watching this interview, like I don't see like her throat move. Like I saw her one time, she was just rubbing her mouth, and all of a sudden, like that voice is coming out. And I try to like mimic it, and I'm like, I'm having a hard time mimicking this. And so,
Is it possible that she's a ventriloquist?
that's what the whole water trick was. It was to see if she was like a ventriloquist. If she can ventriloquize, is what they called it. They said they did some tests with her, like one of them being the water, and they're like, no, she cannot ventriloquize.
Is that a word?
That's what they said. That's the word they use. I think that sounds legit.
I don't think they. That's interesting.
Yeah. So
This is all new to me. The whole voice,
yeah, it's
throat thing.
yeah, it's really interesting. So yeah, he would. Now Maurice said, no, we would have this conversation for 3 hours. Now we're not talking back and forth for 3 hours straight, but we would be having a conversation with sometimes they, that a voice chimes in and we just have this we'll have like conversations. One of the things I was listening to, both girls are sitting on the couch, right, and you hear the voice come out and go, knock knock, and you go, who's there? Doctor who? And then it stops, and it was like.
Doctor Strangelove, how he learned to stop worrying and love the bomb.
But the girls are just like sitting there, and I'm like, at 12 years old, like they'd have to be like master ventriloquists, you know what I mean, to do something like this.
They didn't have any friends. I mean, they had time.
Maybe that's all they spend. Either they're doing spirit boards or ventriloquism. That's what they did.
I mean,
as
that's what you
kids.
did in the 70s.
If you're not old enough to shag, you're practicing your ventriloquism. But watching these interviews, I'm just like I'm trying to watch like her chest, her throat. Like I'm just trying to see if there's any like air, trying to, because if you watch ventriloquists, like you see like their faces or their throats kind of do
You can see
awkward
Jeff
things.
Dunham's throat move. When
Yeah, because
like,
he's trying
more
to,
close
you know,
up, you can
trying to
see
take
it.
a breath, or there's a syllable that's a little harder to do. Like you see that. I'm watching this, and I'm like, I don't see this little girl doing anything but just sit there, and it just kind of blew me away.
Jeff
Actually.
Dunham also listens to the show, by the way.
Huge fan,
We're-
huge
yeah,
fan.
we see him.
It was his idea to talk about this because of this topic.
Yeah, we reached out to him for his ventriloquism
Yeah,
expertise.
he's like, it's too hard for a little girl like that.
It's like, no way.
There's no impossible. So yeah, so the voices.
I
Like,
feel
just
bad for anyone that actually believes that.
I don't know.
That we talk to these celebrities.
We do.
Yeah, we do.
Constantly.
Yeah.
Of course.
So the voices I just found weird, and there's recordings of like just random like dog barks, like these sound like legit dog barks, but it's coming out of this little girl's mouth with her mouth.
She's a voice
Closed.
actor. Voice actor.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's got he's got all these recordings.
I'm gonna check these out.
Yeah. So it's fascinating. Like I'm just like the levitation I do have a hard time with, but this voice, it's
My name's Bill.
like like my mouth, like it's hard, and to continue doing that voice, and she's like, my voice is fine, like no problem. She has no pain.
Oh, yeah, when you have years of practice. She was waiting for the right moment. She's like
She's been practicing since she was 10.
Since she was like 10.
She was practicing, and then she's like, now's the time
She's like, now I can convince
to
people
con
I'm
everybody.
haunted. Yes. I'll write a book and sell my movie.
Now, here's the thing.
Not really. They didn't do that, actually.
So even though, they have made zero profit off of this, their story.
They're not like the Lutz family.
But
We'll get into that.
so these girls, Margaret, and Janet.
Janet.
So again, they're 12, 14, 15, something like that, right?
I think so.
There's recent interviews of them as adults. They seem very with it. They seem very quote unquote normal, and they're like, this stuff happened. Like I don't like. We're upset that people like didn't want to believe us. Like there's no way we could make this up. There's no way we would do this. Like we wouldn't even have the mind capacity to do things like this. Like listening to their interviews now make me actually more of a believer that this actually happened.
Except for the fact
they've been arrested for con.
they actually showed and towards the end of the movie, they showed the kitchen being torn apart.
Yes.
And they actually, I believe, had video evidence that Janet was the one doing it.
Right.
And they say that's like an isolated incident. Now the movie explains it as the spirit told her to do that so the Warrens would leave. Otherwise it would hurt the family. I believe there was actual like evidence or someone saw Janet actually like tearing the kitchen apart.
Yeah, I think they actually have video of it. Like it was recorded her doing that. Right. And I guess it was in the movie too. They confronted her.
Yeah. And then the audio reels crossed and they made an X. And they played them at the same time, and they found out that Bill was being controlled, so they ran back in just in time for Patrick to almost fall on the tree and die.
Patrick.
It's a close one.
I know. I was scared for...
This is my house.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I do think as young kids, maybe they kind of like some of that attention at first. Like, let's kind of play along with it. Maybe because some things were happening. I don't know.
I think things were happening.
Yeah,
I definitely think it was. They hyped up some of the stuff, and I don't think that levitation pictures were legit. But what sucks is I think stuff was really happening. I think a lot of the stuff was like her and her poltergeist. I don't know what it's called when you're like doing things, being alive and having that poltergeist doing all that stuff.
So there's two types of poltergeist activity. Poltergeist literally just translates into noisy ghost. But
do you think it was coming from her as like going through puberty and having
a possibility? Because that's one of the types. If you watch the movie Carrie, starring Sissy Spacek, that is a form of poltergeist activity where, like you said, a teenager, and it's more common in females. As they're going through puberty, they can manifest activity without realizing they're doing it. So it's entirely possible, in my opinion, that yes, that was the type of poltergeist activity that was going on.
Thanks for breaking that down, because I just assumed everybody knew what I was saying. Thank you.
The other type of poltergeist activity is actually a spirit causing shit to fly around. But I would lean more towards... So the two movies I go to when you look at poltergeist activity is obviously Poltergeist, where spirits just go crazy and they mess shit up. And then you've got Carrie, where... she's going through puberty and she's manifesting and making things happen.
Now, when you mix the two,
well, that's just.
Do you think that's what was going on here?
It's a very good possibility.
I think there was a
because I do think there was. I do think the Bill Wilkins spirit was there.
I think he was feeding off of her ability to.
Who's her?
Janet.
Okay.
And which was causing more things, because I don't think things like that were happening beforehand. And then you add him and his spirit to the mix, and then her ability, whatever, and then whammo, here's the Warrens.
Yes, a year later. No, it's entirely possible. That's what happened. You could have a mix of an actual spirit being there, and then her going through puberty, stressed out, just things changing for whatever reason. There could be some sort of stress in the home. Obviously, this is like I said, a low-income family.
Single mom.
So there's a lot of stressors there, right? So it is possible that she was unintentionally creating her own paranormal activity. Which is the thing.
Yep. Is there anything happening in this house today?
No, you know the funny thing is, you look at all these houses like Amityville, the Rhode Island house that the parents lived in, this house, the Haunting in Connecticut case that they did. It's like no activity beforehand, no activity after. Other families that move in, they're like, yeah, there's nothing here. Now, I do know that like people go back to the Rhode Island farmhouse and still investigate that now. I think the owners that had it when the movie came out, I think they finally got sick of all the people just showing up. I think they sold it. But I know like Ghost Adventures recently did an episode in the last couple of years where they spent the night there.
Right.
There's been a lot of like recent investigations at this farmhouse, and I would love it if like we could all plan a trip out there one day. I'm still friends with Andrea on Facebook. I could reach out to her and be like, we need to make this happen.
Rhode Island?
Rhode Island, yeah.
Rhode Island, okay.
She just did an episode where she went there. I think she was.
She's got her YouTube channel or something. She goes on live like twice
Was she
a week.
there with Ghost Adventures on that episode?
She might have been.
I think she was.
She still does a lot
She
with
was
paranormal.
at the Conjuring house. She was there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm talking about. At that episode.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right. Knew it.
Yes, she was there. Yeah, so, I don't know. It's like when you see these ladies now as adults talking, and they're still like adamant, like, no, this stuff happened to us. Now, maybe as kids, maybe they kind of exaggerated some of it, or they kind of played along a little bit more extra. But it's hard to tell. Because even Maurice, the way he got into the paranormal is his daughter died. You know, you guys know about this story. Mm-hmm. His daughter passed away. Her name also Janet, and he feels like after she passed away that he was trying to communicate. She was trying to communicate with her parents, Maurice and his wife. That kind of got him into the paranormal. But he said he saw slippers being thrown at her, which was in the movie. Being thrown at him. Sorry, slippers were being thrown at him. That was in the movie. The Nottinghams, the neighbor. This is out of nowhere, like a Lego, like just shot out and hit him in the elbow and put a huge knot on his elbow. And Lego did that. So I don't know how hard you can throw a Lego. I'm pretty strong, but I don't think I could do that much.
Legos are vicious toys.
But the little ones, if you step on them, yes, they're masters of killing you.
Yes.
But just if someone just throws one little Lego at you, it'll block off.
You can buy some Legos and throw it at your elbow.
You should experiment with it.
Yeah.
I think I'll block them all.
Elbow.
My elbow.
Okay.
So that was pretty interesting. That he's like, yeah, I got a little. I think he said he got a little knot on his elbow from that Lego flying across the room and hitting him. So
Interesting.
yeah, spooky stuff.
Scary.
That's weird, wild stuff.
Very wild.
Anything else about this house?
Final conclusions.
Final conclusions is, I think there were spirits there.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it was as dramatic as the levitation.
Okay. Beaker.
Yeah, no. I agree.
Okay.
So, yeah, no, there was activity, I believe. Not to the extent that they played it up to.
Okay.
And then the whole thing with in the movie with like all the crosses spinning upside down.
That didn't happen.
That never happened.
Oh, right. Yeah.
That never happened. The whole concept of upside down crosses, that's a Hollywood thing. Mm-hmm. That's not a real thing. Like if you look at the original upside down cross, it was if you want to get into Christian religion, it was I think it was like St. Peter. I could be wrong on which apostle it was. They crucified, Christ obviously on the cross. Mm-hmm. There was one that felt like, I guess he didn't feel like worthy enough to be crucified in the same way, so he had his cross upside down. Hmm. So the symbolism of the upside down cross was never originally like a negative thing. It was more of like this dude's sign of respect for Christ. So the whole upside down cross thing, meaning evil, negative, blah blah blah. It's a Hollywood thing. That's not a real thing.
One real thing that Janet said, and this is Janet. So Janet actually did an interview right around when The Conjuring 2 was coming out. But she did say that the curtains she was being choked by the curtains. So that happened. It's like I was being choked by the curtains. Spookies.
Well, no, that happens. I've seen it in videos of not poltergeist activity, just kids playing around and they actually get their
head wrapped up.
Yep. It's more with the cords.
Right.
The zip cord things. If it was the actual curtain itself, though, that's a little weird.
That's what she said. There was the curtain, which was in the movie. It was like wrapped around her head and stuff like that.
Huh.
So, yes, I do think there was actually probably a high poltergeist activity.
I think this one is more believable than the Amityville case.
Okay.
This would have been better, and it sucks because the time that this was happening was in the 70s. If there was better cameras.
Shagging? Oh, cameras, right.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny, too. There's a scene in the movie where Beaker's boyfriend is over here carrying around this big camera.
Yeah.
And he's like, man, this thing's so compact and lightweight. And it's
But it's huge, yeah.
Yeah, now we have cameras in our pockets.
Yeah.
Everybody has a camera. Oh, my God. 100% of
Quarter-
TikTok videos are fake. Just saying. All these paranormal videos on TikTok. Don't even get me started.
I'm not even going to try to watch. I
They're
don't even
all
bother.
fake.
Well, I haven't even bothered
Here's the
downloading
thing is,
TikTok.
like, you see so many of these, like, there's this dude on YouTube, Nuke's Top 5, that's like, oh, these are the scariest videos ever. And
Right.
it's just like, there's thousands and thousands of these videos. And it's like, I've been doing this 7.5 years. I've got hundreds of hours of video. And I've never gotten anything remotely close to what these randos are getting on their cell phones. It's like, what are the odds? There's like, okay, you hear a noise. Like, you've had this happen here, this house. You've heard a noise. Is your first thought to pull out your phone and start recording and walk around your house?
No.
No, but that seems to be everybody's natural response nowadays. I heard a noise, so I'm going to start filming. And I magically got something. Come on, people, knock it off. This is stupid.
You ain't fooling me.
Yeah, I could
I'm
see
such
if
a
it was
negative person.
like by the time you think about pulling out your phone to start recording, it's because this has happened day after day after day.
Fake
And these people are acting like this is the first time it's happened.
Yeah, right.
So
exactly.
you know damn well it's going to be fake.
Yes.
Fake news.
So
fake news.
whenever something
Just
happens to
stop
me
it.
and I hear a noise, even though I've been through that, I still don't think about pulling out my phone and record. No, I'm going to go check it out. With recording it's the last thing on my mind.
Well, this is funny. Even when we're on like an investigation, when we did Benson Grist Mill recently, not once when I'm having activity with my EMF meter or anything, I'm like, I should pull out my phone and record this. Not once. I was just like, this is cool. This is happening right now.
Yeah. It's usually like minutes into it, when you start thinking about it or after
If
it
I
happened.
do have it on video, it's because I used to have this really expensive like night vision camera before it was stolen out of my car. I would already have the session recording, and then I would just happen to catch it. Like I finally got it up on YouTube. It's on our Facebook page and our Instagram. The shaving a haircut.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That was one. I just had the camera in the corner of the room, and I remember you even asking, like, "Did we get that on recording?"
Yep.
And I'm like, "Sure did." It wasn't like we planned that. I just like when I have a camera, I set it up and I put it. Either I'm walking around with it, or I set it up in the corner of a room. So I'm trying to get the entire room.
Yep.
And if we're lucky, we get something like that to happen. I mean, how many hours were we there that night? And that's like the only thing we got on audio or video. Like we were there for 3 or 4, 5 hours. And that's like the only thing I remember us getting on video.
Yeah, because we were just dead silent. We were getting ready to leave.
And I actually had it confirmed with Peaches. Boop. That was legit spirit activity. It was not
cool.
something that we faked. Because if you watch the entire video, I even put this in. I just cut out everything before and after when we got to that point where we were asking it to do a noise or do something, and then you came up with shaving a haircut. It's not something like we scripted or anything. You just did it, and then Ghosty here had you repeatedly knock on the table to make sure it wasn't us knocking, setting off the meter.
Right.
And then we retried the shaving a haircut thing, and nothing happened.
Yep.
So I mean, the video is like a minute long because that's all it would let me do on Instagram.
What's really cool about that device too is because if you
That's your meter.
Yeah, and if you were to put something too close to it, it goes like it starts beeping continuously.
Like a cell phone.
A cell phone, and it'll just beep 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 beep. But the way it did those beeps was like
beep,
it
beep beep.
Yeah.
Beep. Yeah.
Like it just did it enough. Like just enough.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah, very interesting.
So yeah, that has the Conjuring was probably mostly somewhat real.
All right. Excellent.
All right, folks.
So stay tuned for next week. Spoiler alert again.
Yeah,
We're gonna get into Conjuring 3.
We've given you a month now, so we're gonna probably talk about it in detail.
Yeah,
I need to
spoil
do this.
it.
This one is new, so I haven't done an episode on this, obviously, on my last podcast.
If you're gonna go watch it in the theater, I'll join you. Since
Let's do a viewing party. Who wants to join us, the EVP team, at the movie theater? Maybe we'll pick out a date, put an invite out there on our Facebook and Instagram, see if anyone wants to join us.
I've done that before with the Winchester movie. We
All
had a
right.
really good turnout.
Let's do it again.
We should do it. Yes.
All right.
Knock, knock.
Peace out, butterflies.
Ghosty, don't play that.
Worst
Knock, knock.
exit ever.
This is the EVP Podcast.